welcome, Media Men Online. I'm Dan, this is Isaiah.
What up?
Jump right into some news. So, the Free Stellar Blade petition has gotten 89,511 signatures, started by Mark Kern, who's known as Grums on X and other platforms as well.
He's like an X-Wild dove, I believe.
Yeah. He's been getting all sorts of death threats. There was a couple people who said, I'll give anyone $20,000 to make this guy disappear.
That was funny.
This woman on Twitch said, I'll make it 30,000. Very, very strange. These people are unhinged. Yet they always claim that people like us are. Projection. It's part of the whole playbook. It's projection. But yeah, 89,511 signatures basically to he's going to send it directly to the studio and show them all the signatures of the people who want to, basically stop censorship. It's not the thing that a lot of these people make it about is boobs. A lot of these weirdos make it about boobs. It's not. It's about censorship. That's the entire battle. And a lot of the people are straight on the front lines of this one. So have you gotten a chance to look at this?
I mean, if you want my honest opinion on this, I've seen so many change.org stuff, and it not like all the ones that I've seen, and I've seen like so many just never become anything. It's like for me, I'm just like, yes, I think it's stupid, but however, I don't think any of these change petition things, especially for Sony, like I don't see them actually doing anything to change it. Because they were like the fact that they were so adamant about it not being censored and then quickly censored it like right before the game release was like something weird happened there. And here's what I'll say as well. Like I think censorship is stupid. I mean, I one of my favorite games that I've never finished is Tokyo Mirage Sessions, and it has some really egregious censorship in that game. But like the censorship in this game isn't even that bad, and it's I don't even get why they did it, because there's certain costumes that they censored, and then I'm like, but there's other costumes they didn't that are even more revealing and whatnot. And then you have things like the whole like the spray paint thing, which is just like, why? It's dumb. The censorship's dumb, but it didn't really affect my gameplay that much. But I do agree that like there should at least be an option. Like, hey, if you don't want to see this stuff, you can click a little slide button. But for those of us that actually care about like game preservation and whatnot, let us have access to the actual product that the developer worked on and whatnot. Because like I guess it's because it's not the developer either. Like they were like, hey, we wanted all this stuff in it, and Sony, I'm thinking maybe if they can get like it out on PC like a year from now, like they don't have to release it on Sony anymore. We can get like the uncensored version or something. But
yeah,
I don't know. The fact that there's no choice, and just like my go-to example is PT. Like the fact that you can't download PT anymore just because some developer didn't want it downloadable anymore to play, and it's one of the best 4 experiences ever. It's just crazy. It should just be made available. And stuff like this, it's like, the change.org petition itself, I'm just like, I've lost faith. Maybe that's where I've reached to my point. But it's like I do agree with the idea though behind it, where it's like, yeah, like this it shouldn't have been censored. And I guess we'll talk more about the game itself later down the line. But yeah, it's all stupid. And
yeah,
people
we'll
getting upset at
people
people. Yeah, people getting upset about people like this who don't like the censorship is even stupider. Where it's like, what, we're not allowed to want the product that was promised to us?
Well, it's about totally controlling everything, really. What's going to happen if, let's say, 90% of video games have gross women that look like what's the video game I constantly
4?
harp back to? What's that?
Fable 4? Or
No,
like,
the
have you
one
seen the
with the
Fable 4
robot
trailer?
dinosaurs.
Horizon.
Yeah, if all the women look like that versus Stellar Blade, let's say 90%, what are the 10% of people going to do? They're going to go buy Stellar Blade because it's a visual medium. Shocker that people want visually appealing things in a visual medium. And it's not about the tits. It's just not.
It just doesn't matter, because like I'm somebody who likes Horizon. I think that game's fun. It's better than a lot of open world stuff out there. But it's like not every game needs to be that. I mean, look at freaking Mortal Kombat. You know, like
I
Mortal
will now
Kombat.
look at Mortal Kombat.
It's well, I'll say like how come they're still able to do that kind of stuff? Like
Well, they
it's just
censored a lot of it
the
in Mortal
hypocrisy.
Kombat.
I mean, you
Yeah.
should. I mean, I think it's because they've wanted the game to focus more. But like, you see some of those outfits still though, like in MK, I think it is 11 or X. I can't. I think it is. Yeah, MK 11. Shiva's outfit is like a little ridiculous in that game. Uh, but I mean, like, they're still like beautiful looking women. I guess that's what it is. I wasn't even thinking outfits. I'm thinking like faces and whatnot. It's like they're still beautiful looking women. It's not like,
Yeah.
oh, we need Katana to look, not pretty. It's like, nah, we
Yeah.
want Katana to be pretty to look at, and she is and whatnot in at least Mortal
Yeah.
Kombat 1. It's like, why can't we have these things still? It's like
And
nobody actually cares. It's like, oh, the Disney princesses look pretty. Well, are they not allowed to look pretty anymore? Like,
no, they'll get there.
I
And
don't
the
know.
thing
It's so
about you
dumb.
saying the outfits are ridiculous on Mortal Kombat, the entire concept of the entire game is ridiculous. So
Oh, well, yeah.
go as ridiculous. If she wanted to wear a freaking string bikini,
Yeah.
she's ripping a dude's head off
Which,
in one section, and then he's back the next round. It doesn't make any
yeah,
sense. So who
nobody
cares?
cares. I mean, I think
Yeah.
that's the thing is, if you were to actually gauge whether these people actually care or not, they don't care actually
No.
about like the outfits and Stellar Blade and whatnot. It's the whole idea of like they're getting offended on the behalf of people who aren't them.
Yeah.
When it's like, how about like you actually stop making a big deal out of things that don't actually matter. Because like for me, and we'll talk about this, is like what actually matters about Stellar Blade for me, the gameplay.
Yeah, let's hold off on that. We're going to talk
Yeah,
about Silver Blade for a little
yeah,
while.
yeah. But it's like
All right.
that's kind of the heart of it though. It's like they're talking about things that don't matter and making people change things that don't matter. And it's like, why? Yeah, we should move on.
Yeah, and people should just say when it's time for people to complain about something, the people with the biggest stones should just say, well, don't play it instead of trying to appeal to people who are never going to buy your product.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, and
do you
that's the
think any
funny
of the
thing.
people complaining about Stellar Blade are going to buy Stellar Blade? Of
No.
course they're not.
And here's the thing, if they did buy it and then they played it, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that later. But it's like, come on. Alrighty.
Yeah.
Have you seen this thing or heard about this game at all?
No, literally just switching over to this tab is the first I'm seeing of this.
So this is basically Overwatch, but Marvel characters and whatnot. Um, and I don't know, like I don't know how much Overwatch you played, but I think Overwatch is like my fourth or fifth most played game on my PlayStation. I really liked Overwatch, and then the game just kept on getting worse and worse and worse. They kept just like they didn't know what the word buff meant. They just kept nerfing everything. So this game is basically like I said, Overwatch, but with Marvel heroes. So it looks interesting to me. They're doing like an open beta for it right now. I haven't really gotten to watch much gameplay because I've been very busy. I only heard about this game like a couple days ago, but I was like, you know what? If it looks fun and it plays fun, like I know you and I had a good time with the Marvel Avengers game. It's just there was a lot of problems that they never addressed with it. And so it's like maybe they're going to do the same thing with this game. I don't know. But I know there has been one controversy with the game is if you signed up for the beta and you got a code as a content creator, part of and this is what I want to talk about, part of the terms and conditions says you can't say anything bad about the game. And people were just signing it. And it's like, why? Like, you're just you're just making people like think badly of it by having that in that because it's like, oh, why? If your game is good, why do you have a thing in it that says people can't speak badly of it?
That's pretty weird. So
Oh,
what
no,
happens
and,
if they
and here's the
do?
weird thing. It's only the people who signed up for the code. So if you get a beta code from like somebody who like from the developers and whatnot, and you have to sign that, if you get to level 6, you get a free code that you can give to a friend. And if you get that free code, you don't have to sign anything, so you can just play the game and talk about however you want about it and whatnot. And it's just like, why? Like, it's so dumb. But yeah, like it looks flashy. I might try out the game if it's free to play or something like Overwatch was, see how I like it. Um, I still enjoy Marvel as much as the MCU has really killed a lot of excitement I've had for Marvel stuff. But Marvel can still put out some good stuff if they have some people who care about it behind it, and we'll get into that later. But yeah, I just thought that whole like non-disparagement clause they put in the I don't even know that's the right word, but like the can't say anything bad about it clause was just funny and stupid. It's like,
What
don't ever
happens? Do
do
they
that.
sue you? Like, I don't
They
understand
can.
what are they gonna do?
They can essentially like get your content taken down or do something like because you put in your contract you wouldn't say anything bad about it, and if you break the contract, they can sue you or get your content removed, all that different stuff. I mean, I don't know if anybody's done
Weird.
anything about it, and I haven't heard bad stuff about it. I've heard good stuff about the game. Nothing great, but I've heard good stuff. So like maybe it's not warranted at all, but it's just silly. Like, why would you put that in there? If I was making a game and I thought it was really good, I'm putting it out for the public. I want honest opinions on it because it's
Yeah,
a
and
beta,
it's
especially
scary.
it's a beta. You want people
Right,
to say like,
constructive criticism. Like,
yeah,
I
where
mean,
it's
come
just
on.
like, man, I really don't like the flight with Iron Man. You're not allowed to say that because I mean, and that's the other thing. It's super vague. So people are like, can I say something like that? Can I say I don't like this about it? Yeah, it's super dumb, super vague.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, like, I think if you like check this out, see if it looks fun. Like, I said, did you play a lot of Overwatch, or did you play Overwatch at all?
I played enough to know that I don't like it. McCree was
Okay,
my character, and
and
I
they
played it
screwed him
for a
over.
bit. Yeah, and it just wasn't for me.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I'm gonna check it out, see what it's like. I just hope I'm not disappointed like the Marvel Avengers game was for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, onto this
All right.
exciting stuff. Good
Yeah.
stuff.
I had to close out the tab early because all of a sudden I had the I had that game up, and then all of a sudden it wanted to start completely blasting noise into my ear. So
Oh,
I don't know
geez.
what that
Yeah,
was
no, yeah,
about.
get rid of that.
All right, so New Lines Companion is the title of the movie from New Line, and from the same creative team as Barbarian, releasing in 2025. So
Oh, it's Zach
producers
Breger.
Zach
Awesome.
Breger, yeah. So if they're touting that creative team and very creative team, I might add, from
Mhm.
Barbarian, then this is very exciting.
Yeah.
Strong violent sexual content and language throughout. Sophie Thatcher, who I'm unfamiliar with,
Oh,
Rupert Friend.
the Boogeyman. She was in that. Oh, which it says right there.
Is she
Yeah,
the daughter?
I think so. I think that's her right there, right?
Yeah, she doesn't look familiar. I
Yeah,
saw
that
the
wait, right there. That's
boogeyman.
so. That's that. It says on the tag that is Sophie's
Oh,
Thatcher.
and Jack Quaid
Oh, yeah,
from
Jack Quaid. Jack
Scream and
Quaid's great.
Boys. Yeah,
He was definitely the best part of Scream 5,
and it's
I
described
thought.
as a sci-fi horror movie. Very excited for this. I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, reading all the names attached definitely looks very promising. Yeah, like after Barbarian, Zach Breger, it's like, yeah, I'll definitely check out the next thing you make. He's proven himself.
January 10th, 2025 for release, so keep an eye out
Oh,
that on
that's not even a year
on
away. That's cool.
yeah. All right. Next, this is my least favorite story of the day. Disney Plus Japan execs, this is per Bonding into Comics, admits anime industry making a quote shift towards more acceptable expressions in order to, and this is my least favorite sentence in the world, appeal to wider audiences.
What does that even mean? Shift towards more acceptable expressions. What?
No sexual stuff, probably no fan service, and then wider audience. Whenever they try to quote appeal to wider audiences, they end up appealing to nobody.
I was gonna say that's never gonna happen. I mean, it's
Yeah.
anime. Fan service is it's like that's its own genre of anime.
Yeah, well, you see, and this is something that I predicted years ago. once Endgame took place, and we knew we could see the schedule they had coming out. Like Marvel is going to die. Maybe not literally, but for all intents and purposes, the MCU is going down. So these
Marvel, as we
people,
knew and loved it, died.
yeah. So what do? They snatch up Marvel when it's at its most popular. They suck the life out of it and they leave it for dead. They're going to try to do the same thing with anime. As
I was gonna say,
soon as Disney grabbed summertime rendering, I knew that this
oh,
was coming.
it's still locked on. Oh yeah, it's summertime
Yep.
renderings. I guess like they've been doing some other stuff and whatnot, and people are like, yeah, when you have a worse reputation than even Netflix, it's
Yep.
like that says something when it comes to your anime treatment. Netflix is the studio that I will never forgive them for just killing JoJo.
Yep.
Where it's like you come off of JoJo Part 5, which had so much hype around every single episode that came out, and you're going on to season 6, which is or Part 6, which is of all the parts that came out, arguably the best one, and then they just killed it on Netflix. It's just nobody talks about it anymore. There's no hype for it anymore. And it's like, yeah, Disney Plus is even worse than that. But yeah, that's why I
Yep.
was so sad when I heard that like the Go Go Ranger thing was coming to Disney Plus, because it's like, well, there's another show that's just gonna die there. And they just picked up another anime. Sakamoto Days is
Oh
going to Disney
no.
Plus. I know.
Oh,
And
that's
it's like,
such a good
no,
series.
I know. And here's the crazy thing. It's supposed to be out by the end of the year, and they haven't even like they don't even have like a studio or anything. It's just like, okay, so they're just gonna rush it out, huh?
Yep.
Like this really great ongoing manga. Let's just kill all hype, right? I miss when anime, like even though we had to wait longer, was just like made in house, like it was just all Japanese and everything, no American studios trying to get in and in it and everything, and then we just got it after the fact. It's like all
Yep.
these American publishers and whatnot are just trying to like grab like because of how big anime's gotten. It's just like we got to grab it all up. Got to be the people to
And
control
why
it.
has it gotten so popular? It's because the American studios destroyed the American stuff. Marvel comics are unreadable, DC comics are unreadable. You could probably give me an example, people out there, an example or two of series that are actually still solid, because I'm sure there's a couple out there that aren't being completely
Like
run into
anime
the ground.
or
What's
Marvel
that?
stuff? Like anime series or Marvel
No, no,
series?
Marvel.
Oh.
Anything Marvel comics related. And
Well, we'll
why
we'll
did
talk about
manga
one later, but
yeah,
that's
why
like
did
it's
manga blow up? Because Marvel Comics died. That's why. That's why I made the switch. I was dabbling in manga back then. I was doing a little bit of both. But I
the
don't know, maybe it
storytelling
was
is more
around
engaging.
yeah, maybe 2017, 2016 I completely dropped American comic books and moved on. So,
Like thankfully, I mean this is a shift in a bad direction, but thankfully still we still get a lot of good anime that comes out and is exciting to watch and whatnot. But it's like, man, I hate it if this is where things are going and whatnot.
yep, and then they'll find the next thing, whether it be crocheting or I mean, they're trying to do it to the NFL, the NBA, the MLB, the NHL. They're whatever is popular and making money, they're gonna move in, suck the life out of it, and leave it for dead. The NFL won't die, no matter what you do to it. But a lot of these other businesses and ventures are they're up against it. We'll say that.
Yeah, you ready to jump into the next topic, which is another
Oh
bad
God.
venture?
Yeah. Assassin's Creed Shadows. The gameplay trailer was announced, and if you take a
Gameplay
look at the two
trailer.
main
That's funny.
characters, yeah, the
Gameplay trailer. Yeah, I'm sure we saw any
LOL,
real gameplay in that.
yeah. And does it look decent, like in terms of the graphics? Yeah, but there it was all cutscenes, literally.
Yeah, it's a CG cutscene probably made on a PC or something. Every time I see a CG trailer for a game, I'm like, I'm not gonna let this impact my decision on whether the game looks good or bad at all, because it can look as pretty as it wants and it's just a dumb CGI cutscene that somebody cooked up. It doesn't represent the game at all, really.
Yeah.
So I just kind of like looked at, okay, what is the themes and ideas and type like stuff that I'm gonna get from this. That's what I kind of look for in the trailer. And I could say like number one, I'm not upset about some of the stupid stuff that people are upset about on Twitter. Like Like people are
What's
upset
that?
about like this guy, like the samurai in this Yasuke. It's like he's based on a real figure. Yes, that real figure might not have been a samurai in real life, but when has Assassin's Creed ever been realistic? Like, Connor, in Assassin's Creed 3, it's like, what are we saying that it was realistic that he helped George Washington and all the uh you know was it colonial leaders, win the Revolutionary War? No, nobody complained about that part of it and whatnot. It's like, it's so I don't care about that too much. It's just like every Assassin's Creed game has been about showcasing the culture of the era that it's set in and whatnot. Like, you have Assassin's Creed 1, it takes place, I don't know this specific region, so I apologize if I got the wrong area, but I believe he's an Arab. It's an
Yep.
Arab country, Arab man. Assassin's Creed 2, Italian man, Italian, Italy, in Italy. Assassin's Creed 3, American colonies, you play as a Britain colonist person and a Native American. Assassin's Creed 4, it's a pirate on the seven seas, you play as a guy from that region, so on and so forth. Every single game, Unity, Frenchman, you know, uh Syndicate, British people,
Valhalla. Yeah.
Valhalla, and Norse people. That's how it's always been. And
Yeah.
in this one, it's like, so why don't you have a Japanese man representing for your Japanese Assassin's Creed game?
Yeah.
Like, and I know people would be like, "Oh, well, you sexist against black people." It's like, no, we had an Assassin's Creed game that took place in Louisiana, and you had a black woman as that, which it's like, okay, it kind of made at least the time period that was set in. It's like, okay, it's called Liberation and about like fighting against the slavers and whatnot. It's like, okay,
Well, the one
that
in
makes sense.
Egypt
I know, and like in
was the
Egypt, they have like darker,
yeah.
browner skin and everything. It's like if they ever make an Assassin's Creed game that takes place in Africa or something, I'm not going to be upset if they have a black man and a black woman being the leads of that one. I can tell you that, because it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the cool thing about Assassin's Creed is it's all about like enriching yourself in the culture. And I think somebody compared to this where it's just like as if they made Ghost of Tsushima and had Yasuke be the main character of that one, where it's like, no, we wanted like this deeply Japanese story, and you need, a Japanese man to really, or to really like ingrain you in that. And so it's like, I don't dislike Yasuke being, and here's the key thing: I don't dislike Yasuke being in the game. It'd be like Leonardo da Vinci showing up in Assassin's Creed 2. I'd be fine with Yasuke showing up in the game at some point, because it's like, yeah, sure, he was a legendary figure and whatnot, or like, he was well known as a figure, and it makes sense for him to show up in the game. But to be like the main character that you're supposed to be using to enrich yourself in the culture of the game, that's my big problem with it. With the tone that the game is going for and whatnot. And I know the pricing issue is something different we can talk about, but I don't know if you had something you wanted to say on that.
Yeah, personally, it's obvious that it's just another
Oh, yep.
woke diversity checkbox nonsense that they want to put in because how realistic is it that there's a black guy in Japan, in feudal Japan, leading the charge? Everyone complained when Tom Cruise played The Last Samurai, but that had a story behind it.
Well,
This is just
he's based
ridiculous.
off of a real person, but what somebody said is they were looking through history and said, "Oh, there was a well-known, not a samurai, he was a retainer to a samurai." It's like, oh, there's a well-known black man who was a retainer to a samurai in Japan that has a lot of stories and stuff written about him. Oh man, we see money signs now. We can check the boxes and have it be based in reality and whatnot. It's like we all know why you did it.
Yeah.
Like, why is
Just
this game all of a sudden the diversion from the normalcy? And it's like you said, it's because they're just doing it for the diversity's sake to check that box. It's not because they were like, oh, we have this really interesting story we want to tell about this character or whatnot. It's like, no, his character would typically be the one that shows up as a side character that you run into where you're like, oh, I recognize you. You're based off of a real person and whatnot. Every single Assassin's Creed main character you've basically played as is a fictional person that gets to run into these legends or real life characters or people who might have been real and whatnot. and you can tell
Yeah.
that they just like went in that direction because it's like, oh, we can do that, and it doesn't feel purposeful and whatnot.
No, it's just
It
there's
doesn't feel like they're doing it because they have something to actually say and whatnot besides, hey, look, we have diversity in our game.
yeah.
Aren't
If
we
there was a
good?
purpose, let's say for instance that this gentleman, this Yasuke guy, maybe the studio did a ton of research and they think that this guy didn't get the appropriate accolades he deserved. Well, you could have probably fit that into this game. But no, it's simply to check a
Yeah.
box, and I don't know.
Well, and
I
honestly, like,
quit.
there's actual good stuff based off his legend. Like, I don't know
Yeah,
if you know the anime Afro Samurai.
I do.
It's based off of this guy. And there's
Yeah.
actually an anime that came out on Netflix that I heard was pretty decent called Yasuke that's based on this character. But you know what they did with it? It was like it's like an alternate, it's like, like they have like futuristic technology and whatnot, and like telling this weird and interesting story around his specific character. And it's like that's never what Assassin's Creed games have been about. It's been about enriching yourself in the culture and world of that time period.
Yeah,
And
and
it's
maybe
like,
playing a little bit of like nonsense onto it. So like with
yeah.
Ezio on the second one, you go through the what is that movie with Tom Hanks where he does all the it's in Italy, Da Vinci Code. You
Oh
do all
yeah.
sorts of stuff like that, and it's
Yeah. And
preposterous.
you like
But
assassinate the Pope.
yeah,
It's
but
like
they
I know
take
that wasn't real life history, but it's like it's like it based in history though.
yes, they take you, they put you in that era with historical, like in the third one, they do the Boston Tea Party, but there
Yeah.
wasn't a dude, a Native American guy with a sword jumping out off of buildings onto people. So, it's
Yeah.
crazy. Let's get into this pricing really quick here before
Yeah.
we move on. So, base game $70, which,
The
whatever.
world we
That's,
live in
that's,
now, I guess.
yeah. Base game plus pre-order bonus plus season pass and 3 days early access is $110.
I hate the early access thing so much. It's just there to play off of FOMO. Hey, you get to play
Yeah.
the game 3 days early. Pay me
Yeah.
7 or 50 more bucks. 40 more bucks,
Oh,
whatever the heck it
and
is. It's like,
this is actual insanity. I don't know if I've ever
yeah.
seen a non my God, I'm blanking. What does he call it when you get like a statue?
Non-value. Oh, like the collector's edition or something?
Yeah, I've
I
never
don't know.
seen a non-collector's edition go for this much money. $130. You get
Yeah.
everything from the gold edition plus an ultimate pack, which is
It's
what?
it's all digital stuff. That's it.
Sekiro character pack, including gear, weapons, sets for both Noe and Yasuke. The Sekiro Beast and Dragon Tooth trinket. Hideout pack, including 4 unique ornaments, 5 skill points, and the Red Dragon filter in photo mode for an extra 20
$20.
bucks. Okay.
It's all digital stuff. And like they did the same thing with that Star Wars Outlaws game. And you know what? What's the thing that's all highlighted that they really want you to go for though? It's their subscription service.
$18 a month.
Yep.
New releases and 100 plus PC games. Premium editions, monthly rewards, cancel and come back anytime.
But
Wow.
you know what they do this for though? It's you sign up for it and then you forget about it.
Yeah. And then you
And you get
realize six
charged
months
and
later
charged.
that you've already given these bozos, an extra $100.
Oh yeah. That's the
Unbelievable.
thing. Like this whole Ubisoft, like I don't get it. Ubisoft made one like good game that made me think that they might be turning it around with that Prince of Persia game, and then it's just like they keep doing crap like this though. Where it's like
Yeah,
it was a fluke.
no shame. No shame whatsoever.
Oh yeah, they don't care. Like I think Ubisoft is one of the most like is one of the worst developers out there. Like them and EA, they just do not give a crap. It's just like how much money can we make off of you for as little like just think about it. You're like paying 60 more dollars going from the standard edition to the ultimate edition for just lines and codes in a game.
Yeah. And okay. So let's imagine you pay, because some people out there are saying, oh, it's a good deal, $18 a month, you get all these games. But let's say you really like Assassin's Creed Shadows for whatever reason, and you pay, let's say you have the subscription for a year, which is 170, no, way more than that. It's $200. You've given them $200 and you don't even own the game. Once you cancel, you lose access.
Oh, and someone did this. So like for $190, which is what, like $70 more than that, for the Elden Ring Collector's Edition, you first off, like the prominent thing, get that giant statue of I think it's Melania or something.
Uh-huh.
It's like a 9-inch replica, really nice looking statue. You get a steel book. You get a 40-page art book, a digital soundtrack, and the game in a sweet looking case. And then on top of that, they give you some digital bonuses and whatnot. Where it's like when
Yeah,
I
not to
pay more than
mention,
standard price for a game, it's like I want some
right.
cool looking physical stuff and whatnot. And for this, it's like, hey, you get some DLC that we cut out of the main game so we could sell it to you for more money.
Yeah, and imagine,
Think
I
about
mean,
that.
Elden Ring versus Assassin's Creed Shadows. Like, I would pay
Yeah,
more for Elden Ring anyways. Like, you're
yeah,
getting a game that's going to be 10 times better than this.
yeah. But it's
No,
like
because
even
you already
even
know
if
what you're getting.
I say even if it was the same quality, like game and whatnot, it's like what's more bang for your buck? You get all this cool stuff that's like that you're actually paying more money for that makes sense and whatnot, rather than hey, here's digital content that we cut out of the game. Like they even say like there's a day one mission that you get with the season pass or something, and it's like okay, it's cool. So you cut that out of the main game, so you could day one DLC. I love how nobody uses that term anymore because it got so much crap because it's so stupid. Like or on this DLC, where it's like why don't you just give that to people? Like I said, like Baldur's Gate 3. It's like hey, you paid $60 for the game and you got everything. And they were
Yeah.
like, there's no microtransactions, no like all this content we're releasing after the fact. You just get it because you bought the game.
Whoa, what a
I know,
concept.
crazy, right? It's like you buy the game and you get everything that comes with it. Now it's like my
Yeah.
favorite thing was like the Watch Dogs like editions like chart they had to do. It was like 15 different editions for the Watch Dogs game, and they had to have like a chart for like everything you would get with each edition to know like, all right, which edition do you need to buy to get the biggest bang for your buck or what you're looking for. And it's like, why do I need a guide like this? Why can't I just buy the game and I get the stuff that you made for the game? Like the only thing
Right.
I kind of get is the season pass because it's like, okay, that's future DLC. But it's like it shouldn't be part of like the price thing. What it should be is you buy the game, and then if you like it, then you can buy a season pass after the fact or something, or buy the DLC after. Like even that's a little bit more acceptable. But it's like now the game's not even out yet. We don't even have any gameplay, and you can buy the season pass already for future DLC. Like what? Because like Elden
Awesome.
Ring has a DLC coming out that you have to pay for, but it's like it's not like they were selling DLC season pass stuff, before the game, before they even dropped a gameplay trailer for it or anything. It's like no, they were like, hey, we're gonna make some DLC, and then months went by, and it was like, okay, here's the trailer for the DLC. You can pre-order it now, and it's like if you liked Elden Ring, you're probably gonna like this as well. It's
Elden
just
Ring came out February 25th, 2022,
yeah,
and we're just getting the DLC now. So, what it
because
feels like, because From Software isn't trying to milk you dry, it feels like they put out the game, this masterpiece game that they worked so hard and long on, and they had to have had some of the DLC started, but it
they
took
didn't
them
actually. They
oh
said like
wow.
they did like the concept, I guess, concept ideas and everything, but it was like they were just working on fixing up the game, working on bugs for the game and everything until like a little bit after release. We're like, okay, the game's in a stable spot. We fixed a lot of like the major bugs and everything. All right, let's go into full production on the DLC, which is why it took 2 years.
Right, 27 months between the release date of Elden Ring and the release date of the DLC. They didn't have this thing locked and loaded, ready to go so that they can milk you twice. No, it's From Software puts a lot of time and effort into their games.
Yeah,
So
27
whether
months is
you're
how
a
long
Dark
it
Souls
takes.
guy or not, yeah,
That's
you
how long
gotta
it takes for them
respect
to
the
make a
company.
new Assassin's Creed game.
Yeah, from scratch. Yeah,
To make you pay more money for all that stuff and whatnot.
unreal.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about some fun stuff. So you
Yes, some
saw
good
Freaky
movies.
this week.
Yes, I had been wanting to watch this movie for a very long time. I was watching some podcast stuff where they were doing like a survivor version of like horror movie characters. Like it's just like a hypothetical, like, oh, what if we had these characters from horror movies on a survivor island and whatnot? And they put Vince Vaughn from this movie in it, and I was like, I need to see this movie. So I found it on some streaming service. I finally sat down and watched it, and I was like, man, I wish I had watched this back in 2020 in a theater or something. It was really fun and made me realize, like, oh, this is why like people like Catherine Newton. My first time watching her was in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, where I hated her in it, but it's like, oh no, she's actually good in this movie.
I
And
pretend she wasn't in it.
Vince Vaughn was actually funny in this movie too, where it's just like, by the way, if you want to just hate on Disney a little bit more, it was supposed to be called Freaky Friday the 13th, but Disney was like, no, you can't use Freaky Friday,
Ugh.
so they just had to call it Freaky.
So in terms of Freaky Friday, it's when a mother and daughter swap bodies, but in this, it's a girl swaps bodies with a serial killer. So Catherine Newton is playing essentially, she's a high school girl playing as a serial killer, and Vince Vaughn, 6'5", 250-pound Vince
Yeah.
Vaughn is acting like a
Uh,
17-year-old scared girl. It's
yeah,
great.
it's so much fun. I thought all the characters were fun in it. I mean, they don't like overstay their welcome. It's like it's one of those movies where I just say it had a vision and they executed on that vision perfectly. Is the movie perfect? No, but like everything they were trying to go for with it, I think they nailed. And I can't recommend this movie enough. It's so much fun.
Yeah, it's a horror comedy, a twist on something that we've all known and seen
Yeah.
before. And both characters are having so much fun with the roles because they both play them so well. Oh, there it is. Switch bodies with a 17-year-old girl
Mhm.
specifically, but the change in the attitude and all that stuff. It's so much fun.
And
And
if you
then they
want to get a
have the
good,
classic. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, if you want to get a good idea for this, it's the same guy who worked on the Happy Death Day movies, which I
Ah,
say are also horror comedies. So it's like you kind of like understand that where it's like I haven't seen those movies, but I've heard really good stuff about them. Where like I watched the first trailer for Happy Death Day and I was like, oh, this looks kind of lame. And then I just heard, oh no, it's a really good movie. So I want to watch those movies next. I've heard those are
okay.
fun horror comedies as well.
Real quick on those. The first one I find to be excellent. The second one gets super weird and is good but not great. The first
Yeah.
one I feel is great. So
Yeah, because I've heard like the second one it gets like technological and whatnot.
yeah, a lot of time loop
Yeah. I
situations.
mean,
So
there's
directed by
time loop stuff in
Christopher
the first
Landon.
one, but it's like it is more Groundhog Day esque and whatnot. But yeah, no, it's made by the
Yes.
same people. The only blunder this guy has is the movie he released last year is that We Have a Ghost movie that went out on Netflix. That was like what was it like the David Harbour one where he's like a ghost guy like haunting some room or something, and it was pretty bad.
Oh,
But
never heard of it.
yeah, no, of course nobody would want to hear about it. It wasn't great. But it's like I just see that as a fluke. Freaky was great. I have nothing really else I can say because I don't want to really talk spoilers or anything about it because it's a movie you have to experience yourself. I mean, it's nothing that's like mind blowing or whatnot, but it's fun. Watch it, have fun watching it.
Yeah, and
You
some
know.
of the kills are quite brutal as well.
Oh yeah,
So
and that's the thing is it's like it's very practical as well.
yeah.
I
By
watched
the
some
way,
behind the
up on
scenes
the
stuff.
screen, there's going to be a Happy Death Day 3, Happy Death Day to Us, which I did not know. So,
Cool. But yeah, no, definitely
all
look out
right.
for that. All right,
I'll
this
go
movie.
spoiler free on this one, but there's certain things that I have to talk about in
Yeah.
regards to the overall plot of this movie. So,
Yeah, I don't
Fall
mind
Guy.
so much of that because like this movie is more of a like I'm guessing it's more so for like the action and stuff. So I don't mind like minor spoiler overall stuff.
So it's about Ryan Gosling as a stuntman, and the basic idea is that he has to go down track the missing movie star. They're doing a film in Australia, and he has to track down the star that he does the stunts for. However, this movie, the trailers, the description, the synopsis, everything that I've seen about this movie makes it look like the biggest action movie of the summer. However, look at the screen now, what you're seeing, Emily Blunt and Ryan Gosling. It is so much more of a love story than I was anticipating. And I think it kind of it was a good movie, and they lean into the stunts a bit, but they spend so much time on this love story. I think once they got Emily Blunt, they're like, okay, we can't really focus too hard on the stunts, and it kind of takes
Like,
away
why'd they
from
get
the
somebody
movie.
who looks pretty? We gotta have all the ugly
Oh yeah.
people. Why do we have Ryan
Well,
Gosling? He looks too pretty. We gotta get the ugly
yeah,
guys in there too. We got equal gender opportunity of ugliness. All right.
yeah. So yeah, both gorgeous cast members here. But the thing that I'm thinking is that Emily Blunt is a superstar. So they're like, okay, we have to have her more in the movie if we're going to pay her to be in it. So I think they kind of screwed it up with that, but it was still a good movie. So
Yeah.
I
Like
won't talk too much more about it.
I don't watch too many movies with my brother, but he really wants to watch this one, so I was like, yeah, I definitely want to get into that one.
Yeah. So yeah, let's move on to the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
I did not know this was a Guy Ritchie movie until I saw it pop up, and I was like, until I saw his name in the beginning credits, I was like, all right, I know exactly what I'm getting into now. Um, but you think you saw this and talked a little bit about it, so I think we can dive a little bit more spoiler-ish, but not completely into it.
Mm-hmm.
But this is based off a true story. Like and it's very, very loosely based off a true story. Um, but I think like the important thing with me in this movie was it's like the action and editing were very well done. You could tell that the cast was having a ton of fun uh with like making the movie, and like you could feel that energy on set where like they're just having fun with each other and doing some fun stuff. My criticism for the movie would be only, and this is a good kind of criticism, is that it felt like it was aping. Oh, once again, that word sounds bad. It felt like it was borrowing a lot from Inglorious Bastards. Uh, Kind of like in its, kind of approach, which is funny because Guy Ritchie kind of started off making a lot of like movies that were very similar to early Quentin Tarantino movies. But I say that as a good thing because I think Inglorious Bastards is a amazing movie, like 9.5 out of 10 movie. So it's like if you're gonna, kind of borrow from anything, do that. And this movie, like, does borrow all the good stuff. Like I said, the editing, I immediately was just like, this movie is edited amazingly. They're very good with the cuts and the action and going from like thing to thing with the camera movements and whatnot. It was really good. Henry Cavill is, just amazing as always. It doesn't matter what he's in, he's giving his all into it and having so much fun, and you can't help but have fun with him on the screen. Ellen Richardson's really good in the movie. I think all the cast members are a lot of fun. Um, and
Yeah.
they have this really crazy kind of, I guess that's the thing, is the ending was a little anticlimactic. I was hoping for a little bit more, especially with like out of the villain. Uh But that,
Yeah.
like, when I say anticlimactic, it's just kind of like it felt like it was really built up this giant thing, and you get something big, but it wasn't as like big as I was hoping for. But I still had a really good time with this movie, and I'm very glad I got to see it right before it left theaters. Whereas,
You
like,
know
yeah, it's
what?
another recommendation for me, definitely.
You know what I felt like with the ending was they go so over the top throughout the movie. And mind you, I love this movie. They
Hmm.
go so over the top with some of the personalities and things like that. But at the ending, they tried to keep it wrapped in a, a bit of reality. And I think that kind of hurt it. They should have just leaned in. But one thing I want to say about Henry Cavill, and I might have said this when we talked about it before, but the character he plays is a real human. And that character is what the James Bond books were based off of. So ironically, Henry Cavill, who uh, everyone wants to play James Bond, kind of played the guy James Bond was based off of. So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was funny. Where it's just like maybe this is the closest we'll get to him being James Bond.
Yeah, because for whatever reason, uh, since he's a normal person, he can't play. He can't get all these big roles
Yeah,
now. So
they keep taking them away from him.
yeah, and I
And I want to
think
say
this
like
is
yes, 'cause I
go ahead.
really liked this movie. We'll get into another movie I'll be talking about later, but it's like this movie would have been really high, and I would say it would have been the best action movie of the year if it wasn't for another movie that I did watch. But
Yeah.
I'd even say then it's like this is going for something completely different than that movie. And regardless, it's like watch this movie. It's a lot of fun. It knows what it
Yeah.
is. It's
Yeah.
I'll just say the word fun 500 times. That's what it is. What do you go to watch movies for? Generally half the time to be entertained. I mean, horror movies, you have fun in a different kind of way and whatnot, but it's like for an action movie like this, you're getting exactly what you want out of it.
Yeah, and this currently is my fourth movie of 2024. So it's it's excellent. Definitely worth a watch. And I think it didn't make as much money as I hoped it would. So
Yeah,
maybe it'll
I
grab a
saw
cult
that.
following on the back end. All right. So I want to talk about my boy here, T West. So X, terrible in my opinion. Abigail, or sorry, Pearl, terrible in my opinion. However, I watched two T West movies this past couple weeks, and one is called The House of the Devil. So it's from 2009. It's about a girl who's babysitting, and it turns out that the people she's babysitting for are devilish cult followers. And it's a horror movie which turns really dark really fast. So the aesthetic, even though it's from 2009, it really feels like an 80s movie. And you can see probably in this picture where my cursor is, everything looks 80s. The shot composition is 80s esque. It all feels like everything feels like. I mean, the guy could have even used a camera from the 80s for all I know. But it's very fun. It's a fun movie. And for I put T West on here because I'd only seen two movies of his up until, I watched these two. So he kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. The other one is called Innkeepers. Now, I saw this one. It's on Shudder if you want to watch it. Giant hotels closing, and there's a lot of spooky stuff going on. These two characters here are, well, I don't know if I should spoil it, but I would say go watch it. There's some horror stuff happening, and throughout the movie, you kind of are like, is this real? Like, is anything really happening? Very interesting. So I won't spoil it because I encourage uh, everyone to go watch both. So I'll keep it at that. But these are
Surprising.
clearly, go ahead.
So that's surprising. I know how much you hate the other TUS movies, so I was expecting
Yeah.
something different when I saw you put his name on there. I was like, oh God, that trailer put him over the edge, didn't it?
Yeah. And actually, I saw the first VHS movie, which was pretty creepy. So he's three good, two bad that I've seen so far. So the series is not doing him any justice in my book. This recent one. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
two very good movies, very different, and they're both super weird. So keep that in mind when you go watch them. But they're definitely worth it. I have a movie that I almost forgot to add, but I just did. I hope you didn't see it. But let's talk about the two that we both seen this week, and then we'll
Okay.
go to my. This is going to be fun. All right. Abigail, brand new movie. It's about a group of people, nameless people essentially, who kidnap a 12-year-old girl who turns out to be a vampire.
Yeah.
So,
Made by Radio Silence, the people who did Scream 5 and 6, and they also did Ready or Not. They basically went to do this movie after all the stuff went down with Scream 7 and the firing of certain people and people leaving the movie, and you could tell they were super loyal to their Melissa Barrera, who was basically canceled because of literally the dumbest thing ever on X. But I was like, yeah, we like working with you, so we're gonna make you the star of this movie then instead.
Melissa Barrera, the better of the two sisters from the Scream,
Yeah,
most recent Scream movies, I think. I think that the other lady, she's okay, but she's overrated,
yeah,
Ortega. But this movie is interesting in that a lot of the people are like we get more information about them because the whole concept is no names so we don't so you guys can't turn each other in. But there is one part towards the end, and this is a full spoiler that I wanted to ask you.
Hmm.
The main guy, Dan Stevens' character, uh,
Jack,
eats gets bitten by what the hell's the
Giancarlo
guy's name?
Esposito.
Gustavo Fring, yeah,
Yeah.
and immediately kills him. So there's nobody controlling him. Why
Mhm.
is he all of a sudden evil and trying to kill the main girl?
Well, I think it's because he just kind of was like he kind of hates everybody, and he was like, "F it, I'm gonna just give in to the vampire thing and be evil and bad and whatnot." Like I'll say the beginning and end of the movie are my biggest complaints about the movie. Um, but I think it was part of a reason to be like, we need Abigail to become the because I don't know if it's because she was a child and they didn't want to go like full on like violence against children or something, but the fact, if we're getting into spoilers, that she kind of ends up being kind of like a maybe not a good person, but like you know the an ally at the end and a person that you're supposed to feel bad for and everything. I thought that was a strange turn.
Yep.
I wasn't 100% on board with. I mean, I love Dan Stevens and I liked the way he was acting and just being like that. But like at first, I thought it was going to be and this is a direction I hope the movie had gone. He betrays Giancarlo Esposito and be like, "All right, I'm a vampire now. Let's go kill this girl."
Yes.
Because he's
I
new
felt the
to it and
same way.
everything. And I mean that ties into how they end up defeating him in the end is because he's new to it. And I thought it was really stupid because it's like you literally saw that after she got bit that it took after because Catherine Newton's in this movie as well. We just talked about her in Freaky,
Yep.
but it's like after she got bit, it took like 2 hours or something or not 2 hours, but it took a while for her to finally become like the like controlled and whatnot. So it's like,
Hmm.
what did you really think was going to happen immediately? I
Yeah.
don't know. I thought it felt very weird. I felt like the end of the movie should have been them teaming up, him with his new vampire powers and stuff, and her with her like military expertise to
100%.
take out Abigail.
But then even after, if they, let's say they took out Abigail together, if he got a big ego in his head and then it was Melissa Barrera versus Dan Stevens, I could have got on board with that. But the
Yeah.
fact that he switched on her so quickly was so bizarre to
Yeah,
me.
especially because they made you kind of like endear to him a little bit, where it's like, yeah, he's kind
Yep.
of an asshole, but like him and her have a very similar. I think they bring it up where like they're very similar, where they both abandon their children and whatnot, and they both kind of like regret that a little bit, and they kind of are digging themselves into this. I do think they kind of like said like he kind of like enjoyed being like free of the rules and whatnot, which did kind of like tie into that. But I thought that was gonna be like, that's why he became a vampire, because it's like, okay, I can go and do my vampire thing and kind of be a bad person, but we're killing this girl, right?
Yeah, regardless, they still have that common enemy.
Yeah, like if
So
if,
it
um,
was
if
just
they had
very
made
strange.
more sense, where it's like all of a sudden like the hunger took over or something changed him when he became a vampire, maybe. But it just they didn't really explain it that well. I think the beginning struggles a lot too because it's really filmed for the first 30 minutes as if, oh, who's the person killing these people off one by one? What's going on? It's like we all saw the trailer. We know she's a vampire. Yet you're filming
Yeah.
this in a very specific way, as if like you're trying to keep it hidden, like what's going on, and it wasn't engaging or suspenseful because I'm like, it's the vampire girl. That's who it is. I know that's who it is. Like there's
Yep.
that was my beginning. Like I have problems with the beginning and end of this movie. I thought like everything that wasn't the first or last 20 minutes of the movie was really fun and really good. Yeah. Like I have my complaints, like I said, like with the end, but I don't want to get away from the stuff I did really like about the movie. I thought it had I thought the middle of the movie was very, very fun. The characterization, like I said, I really like the four kind of like group of characters, because that's the one thing I wasn't a fan of is it's like, hey, look, the four big name actors in the movie are the four people who kind of survive for the most part. I was hoping for like as much as I love Catherine Newton or something like like one of those big name actors to like eat it early on or
Yeah.
something. because I like I like Dan Stevens a lot. I like Melissa Barrera. I like Catherine Newton, and I think it's Kevin Durant is the other guy. He's not like a big name actor, I guess, but he's in a lot of stuff as like a side
Mhm.
character stuff, and his character is a lot of fun in this one.
Yeah. He's the
Um,
big dude, right?
yep, the big dude where he's kind of really dumb, but he has a heart of gold and whatnot.
Yeah.
It was very sad when he finally ate it.
Bit it, quote unquote.
Yeah, he bit it. All right. But I mean that's why it made me feel where it's like, man, you can tell like this guy has a real heart of gold, and that's unfortunately because it's a horror movie, what gets him killed.
Right,
And at
exactly.
first I was like, come on, he's not that dumb, and it's like, wait, no, he is that dumb. That's right.
This movie to me is like a solid 6 out of 10, like five and a half
Yeah.
to six range,
I,
which
I,
I
sorry,
don't think is
continue.
bad at all. Like I would rewatch
Mhm.
this movie.
Yeah, I think I'm like at a 7 is where I'd put it at, where it's like, it's I'd say it's a little bit more than above average. I'd say it's good. Like if it wasn't for the ending in the beginning, it had potential to be like a 8 or 9. But
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
that
the
the
concept
beginning and
is
the
cool.
ending, and even then, I'll say like the ending is still fun. I just was really off put by how nonsensical it became, where it's like this just
Right.
does not fit the characters and whatnot. I still had fun with like the action and like the how bloody and gross it gets, and like the way they do to end up like defeating him and whatnot. It's like I like that stuff and whatnot, and like the phone call she has with her son, but it's yeah, it needed a little bit more explanation to get me on board with what they were doing, and they didn't do that. So it kind of like broke me from reality. And like I said, it should have just been like them taking out this girl. Maybe the studio was too afraid to like have them kill a girl, even though like she's technically like 1,000 year olds, 1,000 year old or something.
Yeah.
So man, I'm just even thinking of other great scenes I love, like her whole thing of her being like stuck in that elevator, where like yeah, Isaiah was convinced that yeah she's stuck in that elevator, and then when she just breaks it off the hinges, like oh god, yep, that was just her playing them even more. It was some really fun, good writing with like with them just messing with each other the entire time. Yeah, there's just so much good stuff in this movie, and it's just sad that you begin it feeling a little disappointed and end and walk out feeling a little disappointed
Yeah.
because it does kind of overshadow all the good stuff in between.
Yeah. Well, something I was not disappointed in. And
Yes.
to spoil it straight out of the gate, this is my number one movie of 2024 so far, even though
Guess
we
what?
have what?
Same here.
Wow.
Number one. I
So
was
our
not
both
expecting to
of
be
our
that.
top two movies are the same. So Boy Kills World and then Late Night with the Devil,
Yeah. I
right?
think
Yeah,
yeah.
because that was my one before this.
Because here's what I'd say, and I think I don't know if you'll agree with me on this. Very similar to like when Top Gun Maverick came out, and I was like, technically it's the better movie, but I enjoyed Bullet Train more. I think it's same with Boy Kills World, where I'm like, technically Late Night with the Devil might be the better movie, but man, did I have way more like this movie just well, kind of what I said earlier, about like I can't remember what movie I was talking about when I said it. I think like Freaky, where I said, it's not a perfect movie, but everything it tries and executes to do, it does perfectly, and with such style and great action and everything that it's just like, yeah, I'm really sad that this movie did not take off like it did. I mean, it is getting an animated TV show, I guess, or something, and a
Ooh.
video game based off of it, which I think is really interesting. But yeah, if you want to get into like the basics of the movie and the stuff you really liked about that, I talked a little bit
Yeah,
too
I'll
much during the
just
last one. You get into that, I'll pump
I'll
off
read
you.
the letterbox synopsis. When his family is murdered, a deaf mute named Boy escapes to the jungle and is trained by a mysterious shaman to repress his childish imagination, become an instrument of death. So, when you watch the trailer, what do you expect you're going to get in this movie? Blood, gore, ridiculous action from a fictional world. Yeah, check, check, inmate. Because anything that you see in this trailer, the movie executes on in almost to perfection. Now, are there some story twists and turns that are kind of obvious? Yeah. As soon as I saw the gal with the special helmet, I knew who it was. And then there's also some twists and turns that I certainly did not expect.
Do you want to know something funny?
Yeah.
As soon as she popped up with the helmet, I was like, "Oh, I know who she is." And then some
Yeah.
other stuff happened that made me convince myself that nah, that's not who she is.
Oh,
And so then I did get some, like I was like, do you care if we talk? I guess we don't want to talk spoilers with this movie because I don't want to spoil it for people. It's really fun.
we'll do spoiler talk next episode.
Okay, but it's yeah, there's a twist that I was like, okay, this is what the twist is going to be, and then stuff started to happen, and I think it's because of the twist that you and I didn't see coming, because I didn't know that I was just like convincing myself that nah, this can't be the case because it doesn't make sense knowing who is what family and characters and whatnot.
Yep.
And then yeah, that's what's crazy about it is it has a really good twist when it didn't really need one. Because I was gonna say, where it's like, oh, there's things that you can predict, and it's like in a story, not every story needs to have like twists and turns that you don't predict.
Yeah.
If you predict something's gonna happen, as long as it's still executed well, who cares? Yeah, I feel like that's
Yeah.
the problem that like what that the Pretty Little Liars TV show or something fell into, where it's just like people guessed what the twist was going to be. So the writers kept changing like who like the killer was or something in order to make it be a mystery and whatnot, and it just ruined the whole show because it's like okay, you can tell that they were making it up as they went along all of a sudden instead of having this good plan. And
Yeah,
it's like yeah,
sometimes, and people need to jump off of that train of well, let's fool the audience. No, the best way to tell Boy Kills World was for the person in the helmet to be the person we were thinking. That
hmm
was the best story to tell. If you made it someone else, well, what's the point? Who cares about this person? Sometimes the most obvious story beats are the right ones to tell. You don't have to just fool people just for the sake of fooling it. And they don't do that. But the other
yeah.
twist had me like, whoa,
Yeah, I did
what
not.
is going
So
on?
I was watching some or hearing somebody talk about it, and they're like, "Oh, I saw that twist coming from a mile away." It's like, well, I didn't. It wasn't obvious to me. I didn't see that
Really?
coming. Yeah, but I
Somebody,
think what's really cool about this movie is it's very over the top, but a lot of the characters feel really grounded and real and complex. Like the balding brother character from
hmm
the family and whatnot. I thought he was just gonna be like this stereotypical, like, oh yes, I write poems and I'm kind of a bad person. But then they give his character some real interesting and good depth, and I was like, man, I actually really liked his character. It
if
was
this movie
surprising.
wasn't ridiculous, I would have been mad.
Oh yeah.
It had to be. And there's one character, and I'm not sure if it was because of his slang. Maybe you can clear this up, but S- Skarsgård's character could not understand what he was saying, and I wasn't
Oh,
sure if it was
he
because maybe the
mumbles.
beard
It's
was
because he
partially
mumbles.
blocking. Oh,
I think they
mumbles.
said
Okay.
because he was mumbling, so his lips weren't um moving as much as they needed to for him to understand it. But yeah,
Yeah.
like that part, like at first I was like, is this funny? And then every time they kept on
Yes.
doing it, it just kept like slight spoiler here, but every time, like it could have just been kind of if it was just him mumbling and him misunderstanding him. But what he would do then is while they're planning it out, they would then cut to like if what he said actually was the plan and whatnot, and like show you it visually, and that's what made it
Yep.
really funny then. Whereas like it
Yep.
wasn't just that, like they went above the extra mile to like, okay, this is it's kind of funny, and then they just really nail it home, and it's like, okay, now it's really funny,
Yeah. This
and
movie,
that's
this is why I find it to be such a compelling movie, is because everything that they wanted to do, they executed nearly to perfection. Like
yeah,
they hit the beats, they hit the tone that they wanted, and H. John Benjamin as the voiceover couldn't have been more perfect. It was
yeah. Some
uh
people said they were off put by him because of Bob's Burgers, but I was like, I think of Archer when I heard the voice, so it made I had a better like there wasn't as much of a disconnect. So I was like, this is the kind of like thing that Archer would say, whereas it's like the guy from Bob's Burgers. But no,
yeah,
his it's because and once again, very similar to like Vince Vaughn and Freaky, it's like you get this guy who's a really good comedian, and he's just really able to make this movie because that's the other thing. This movie is funny, like
yep,
very funny at times with his dialogue. I think the only thing like a big not big but like a small complaint I had was like the uh I'll just say the hallucination that he would see every now and then didn't
yeah.
always work. Like the butterfly thing, I was like, this is not necessary. But it wasn't terrible or anything, and didn't take away from all the other awesome stuff that was happening. Where it's like, yeah, movie can have flaws, and you can it's still. That's why I say like, is Late with the Devil technically the better movie? Maybe, but I had way more fun with this movie, and typically horror. I always like if I have a movie that's like a horror movie and a non-horror movie that I kind of am equal with, I'll put the horror over. So I generally like it more. But man, this movie just, oh, yeah, we'll get more into spoilers, I guess, next time. But I think it's on streaming now. Go and support this movie. It
Is it actually?
deserves. I hope it is. I know it's at least on a renting streaming or something. What the heck is it called? What is it like? Like Voodoo. That's what I'm thinking. Jeez, I think it's on Voodoo or something now. It's like, yeah,
Okay, it's
pay
not
like five
available on
bucks.
Google Play yet.
Yeah. See your best
So,
world.
yeah,
Uh,
excellent.
yeah,
Excellent
let's.
movie.
Yeah,
Maybe we'll just take some time and do a full review on this one next time we re-record, because that might
yeah,
be worth it. I love this movie.
yeah.
All
I
right.
couldn't I remember I didn't even watch a trailer for it really, so I'd seen some just people talk about it. So that's the thing. I went to this movie not even watching a trailer for it, and I
Yeah.
was just like, I wasn't expecting it to have the style that it did and everything. And that's the big thing is that it had style,
Oh yeah.
and it only made 3 million
Excellent.
at the box office, unfortunately.
People, get out there and go see this movie. Pay to see it, please. It's excellent.
Hmm.
On the complete opposite end of the spectrum,
Oh no.
Marcus Theaters had a Monday mystery movie, and on the app,
Oof.
it was touted as a horror movie. They didn't say horrible movie, but they said horror. So the first half of the movie, I'm sitting here expecting some sort of horror twists, but no. After getting pregnant from a one night stand, a single woman leans on her married best friend and mother of two to guide her through gestation and beyond. This movie is absolutely awful. It is grotesque. The two women in it don't go a minute without saying something that made me want to vomit. There is total pregnancy dialogue, pregnancy. Okay,
Look at that
let me give you an
tagline.
example.
Friendship is a mother.
Yeah, there are.
That just makes me
This
want to cry.
movie is the worst movie I've ever seen. It's worse than Tusk. This is the by far the worst movie. And there is absolutely no redeeming qualities in it.
Wait, you say
I
it's worse
sat
than
there,
Tusk? I
I
have to watch this
counted the
movie.
panels on on the ceiling of the movie theater. There are 94 in the particular movie I was in, if you were wondering. And the only reason I stayed was because I've never gone to like a movie thing with my brother. Me, my wife, my brother, his wife, we wanted to go give the Monday Mystery movie a try. And this is what we got.
I'm
So,
never gonna see a movie with you ever again now. You're
no,
like,
and
you brought me out to
separately,
see this.
yeah, and separately from my reaction to the movie, my wife said to me, "This is the worst movie I've ever seen. If it was just me and you here, I would ask to leave." And we would have.
Wow. I,
There is a quote in this movie that I'm going to tell you, and you can't unhear it once I tell you. So, in the beginning of the movie, the short one that you're seeing on screen, the tall one's pregnant, the short one, they're at a movie theater. And she's checking after they leave the movie theater because they realize she's pregnant or she's going into labor. They go to a restaurant. Why? Well, because she's hungry. And the girl gets down and puts the little girl gets down and puts the big girl's dress over her head and said, and I quote, "Your pussy looks like it's yawning."
this
This
reminded me
is
of
the
that
dialogue.
Joyride movie where it's just like not funny sexual jokes and whatnot.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, that's it's all sexual, but it's all like the gross version of sexual. The smaller girl over here gets on a train with sushi. She's eating sushi on a New York subway, which tells you all you need to know about her. She meets a guy on the train, and this is still early in the movie, so I'm like, okay, this dude is going to be stalking her Because every time she would say, "Oh yeah, I live over here," and he goes, "I do too." I'm like, "Okay, here we go, here we go." He's been stalking her for a while, and it's going to be a whole thing. Nope. They go back, have sex, she gets pregnant, and the whole thing is just a disgusting, unfunny, awful movie. And you know I don't do this. I've reviewed 1,800 and like 40 movies. And this movie gets the perfect distinction of getting a negative score. It is a -6 out of 10. I can't imagine that there is a movie out there that is worse than this one.
Oh.
Yeah. At least Justin Long was in Tusk. I mean, come on. This is it's disgusting. It's not funny. My brother next to me got a couple chuckles early in the movie. My wife did a little at, a couple things.
Man,
I
I've
sat
gotten
there
lucky with
stone
my
faced.
mystery movies. I've had
Yeah.
some pretty decent ones. I got Missing, which I thought was actually pretty decent. I was surprised how much I actually liked that movie. And I
Uh-huh.
had Theater Camp, which I was like, this is a movie probably nobody else would really like, but as a theater guy, here's the thing as well. They had some funny people in that movie too. Like, man, it
Yeah.
just seems like every time you go to see a mystery movie, it's just terrible.
The one I saw was Paint, other
Paint.
than Miss
Yeah.
with Owen Wilson, where he's like the Bob Ross character.
Yeah, didn't you say you didn't like that one?
Yeah, it was okay. I
Oh, it was
mean, it's a
okay. Okay.
masterpiece compared to this one,
Anything's better
honestly.
than this.
I took a selfie at Universal Studios when I was there a couple weeks ago, and that was a better movie than this. So, awful, absolutely awful. It has a 3.06 ratings for a 3.3. It doesn't include mine because it's bullshit. I can't give it anything less than half a star. But let's move on. Let's talk about some fun stuff. I'm gonna quick talk about Overcooked before we get into Stellar Blade because I've played it as well.
Yeah.
So, Overcooked. The digital version is only $6.24. Incredible. So, have you ever played Overcooked 1 or 2?
I believe I've just played one a few times before. Like when I go over to my friend's house, he owned the game and we played it a bunch, and it's very fun. I got it
Yeah.
for free I got or I think it might have been two. I can't remember which one we played, but I know they play very similarly. Probably a little bit of both actually, because I'm looking at some of these and these look familiar to me. Some of these maps. But the first game was free on PlayStation Plus at some point, so I got that for free.
Nice.
Uh, but yeah, no, they're very fun games where it's like this mix of cooperative and screwing around with each other kind of deal that you can do.
Yeah, and basically you and a couple buddies or whatever are cooking. And there'll be at the top of the screen, it will show you a menu or like the orders. And see, so up here, the pasta has to be cooked and the steak has to be chopped and put in the fryer. And you guys are all working together. And the harder the levels get, as you can see the one on screen, you have a timer at the bottom. And since there's a giant gap which you can fall to your death, you have to throw the ingredients across to each other. It's so much fun. It's pure chaos. The more people you play it with, the more fun it is. And I highly recommend it as like a couch co-op party
Oh
game.
yeah. Is there an
I
ice level on this one?
not that I've gotten to yet.
Okay, maybe it is the first game because that's remember that was one where we were just getting so frustrated in a good way with each other because it's like kept slipping and sliding off the map and whatnot, and it's like, no, put the chicken in the pot, don't just serve it raw and whatnot. Or it's like you
Yeah,
gotta chop it first, and I don't
it
know,
is
like
very acceptable to yell at your friends during
I
this
know
game.
because we're all having fun in the end. It's like yeah, it's like because you know you're doing something stupid if you can yell that, all right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Oh, it's such a blast.
it's so much. I've only ever played it couch co-op, like with four people. I
Yeah,
think
I
maybe we
tried
did
it
three people
online.
once or something.
Yeah, it's a little weird online because there's a little bit of lag, so you'll be clicking the button and it won't like accept that you placed it in the pod or anything, but
Hmm.
it's still fun because Nintendo Online is not the best, but
Yeah. Alrighty, you want to jump into Stellar Blade?
all right. Yes, Stellar Blade. If you want to start this one, I'll I got some
Okay.
stuff.
So I've actually haven't had a lot of time to play this game. I don't know how far you are into it, but I'm like 3 or 4 levels deep into it. Like I've done like two of the big open areas.
Hmm.
Uh, but like typically this game is not my kind of game. And I think like when I talked about the demo a little bit, I was able to get into the gameplay slightly as well. But man, the more abilities you unlock, the more control you have over stuff, it just gets more and more fun. And I just specifically want to talk about like a section of the game that at first I was super worried to get into, which is a part of the game where you can't attack with your sword anymore. You can only shoot. And then it was like, oh, and then I actually started using my the blaster that you get on the robot. It was fantastic because I kind of was forced to use it. And I got used to using it, which meant like, okay, once I got out of that area, I was actually using my blaster more. So I'd gotten so used to using it. And I thought that was such like a clever way to like, kind of force a player to use something to then like have it become part of your normal kit and whatnot. And very similar to like it's funny because this reminds me so much of the Prince of Persia game where it's like you're unlocking more abilities to be able to explore more areas that you might not have been able to in the past. Um and yeah, it's just the platforming and combat just gets more and more interesting with the more and more stuff that you unlock, which can be a hard thing to balance in a game because it's like you want the game to be fun from the get go, but you also want to be able to have stuff in the game that does make it uh, more interesting to do later on. And the story's pretty interesting as well. Uh, I find it super cool that there's been a lot of like lore stuff that I've been discovering that seems like big giant like story reveals that would happen, but because I explored, I got to like find it in text in this really interesting way before it was revealed in the story. And I think that's really interesting where like they kind of reward you with some interesting world building and insight into stuff through the exploration and the quest instead of it just being side stuff. Yeah, overall very very impressed with this game. Very fun. Um just wish I could have gotten the version of the game that developers wanted us to have. But yeah, I mean, like,
Yeah.
and for anybody who's complaining about this game and whatnot, it's like you haven't actually played it, have you? Because it's actually really fun.
Yeah, and the sexuality of the character doesn't even really come into play during the
Oh
game.
yeah, like I don't
So,
like notice that stuff or care about it at all. It's just like,
yeah,
oh
you're
yeah,
too
she has some
focused
weird
on what's
outfits.
killing you.
Yeah, and then even for me, even it's just like, yeah, like there's these really skimpy outfits, and it's just like, yeah, it's not my thing. I don't care about that kind of stuff. So I just put the outfits that look cool and whatnot.
Yeah, and
For
for
people who
me, I
like those
was just like,
outfits,
yeah,
let them have
what
fun
I
with it.
do, if I see something that's like super skimpy or whatever, I'm like, nice. But then it's back to killing the demons that are trying to kill you.
Yeah.
And one thing I didn't realize, so I'm 16% through the game. I looked on PlayStation a little while
Oh,
ago,
I should look at that.
and I was using the like naked outfit just as
Oh,
like
for
a
the skin outfit. You mean the one where you take your armor off?
yeah, yeah, and apparently that makes it like hard mode because
Well,
there's
yeah,
no
because you
defense on it.
you take your shields off when you take the armor
So
off.
I stopped doing that about a couple hours ago when I was playing. Like
Although I
I didn't
was gonna say,
realize it till someone told me.
yeah, yeah, no, that's the hard mode for the game.
Yeah,
Essentially,
in
there
more
is
ways
there
than
is a
one.
new game plus.
Yeah,
True. There is a new game plus, I guess, with a harder difficulty or something. But it's like, yeah, it's like, hey, people want to be, want to do that kind of thing. Sure, makes the game slightly harder, but do you and whatnot?
yeah.
Cares? That's what I say.
There
I don't
is.
care. I have outfits I've used in the game that are completely different. I'm 60% of the way through the game, it says for me.
Oh wow. Okay.
40 hours in, 60%. But I guess the thing
Yeah.
with me is I haven't touched the game in a week because
Yeah.
of how busy I've been. But
So there's a couple things specifically that I wanted to mention. So for people out there who haven't tried it, maybe that want to, the game is difficult because you can't really lose focus for a little while because any single enemy, except those little spider things, can kill you. So you have to be focused on parrying, specifically parrying, because Well, you can dodge. The most effective battle method is parrying.
Uh, Here's what I'll say. Have you gotten through how many alpha nativas have you defeated?
I'm not sure. I'll have to look.
Okay. Um, have you gotten the ability where you click in both the joysticks to activate something?
No.
Okay. Because I would say that was the biggest complaint I had with the game was that it only really like they have like a perfect dodge system in the game, but it only really rewards you for the perfect parries because that's how you get rid of the like the stamina to make them weaker or anything.
Hmm.
But there is something you'll get later in the game where it rewards you for doing perfect dodges. So like I
Nice.
only used to really focus on doing the perfect parries. Now I kind of mix it up a little bit. Because now like because there's certain enemies where it's like I kill it too quick where I'm never gonna, get its stamina down anyway. Because I'm just hitting it so much and whatnot, or maybe I have a really good build. But now it's just like, okay, against those enemies, I'll perfect dodge their attacks because it will charge something and then I get something out of that. So I will say you will get rewarded more later for doing perfect dodges. But yeah, like early, like in the section of the game you're in, it's just like, yeah, why not just perfect parry everything? Perfect dodges
Yeah.
don't really give you anything extra.
Yeah,
But
so
yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's the characters are fun. The little I even like the little side stuff because have you gotten to Zion yet?
mm-mm.
Okay. That's kind of like your hub area where you'll accept missions and whatnot. So like spoiler, I guess.
Oh,
But these side missions they have in the game are like really interesting and like you actually care about like this world and the characters in it, which I wasn't expecting that. Um, but I really enjoy doing a lot of the side missions and they make them feel unique and different and actually like have weight. There is this little, and I don't want to do it to spoil any of the side quests, but there's this like repeating thing or repeating idea where it's just like, man, you could use a little, like, you don't have to be as bleak as it can be sometimes with some of the way they approach stuff, but that's just kind of like a minor complaint. The collectibles are a lot of fun. I don't know if you started doing like the can, like been finding any cans or anything anywhere.
nah.
That's like the collectible for the game, and you get to do like a little pose when you pick one up and whatnot, and they give you, which by the way, if you're looking for it, look for those cans because you get like this interesting outfit. I'll say that much for collecting them all.
Right. So I do have one huge complaint about the game.
Mhm.
Whenever you kill an enemy and you have to pick up items, now if there is a setting, please tell me.
There is.
You have
I'll
to
tell you right now.
hold, there isn't a setting to automatically pick up items?
There is a setting. I found it
Oh,
out in the demo and I immediately turned it on.
thank God.
It's
Bec-
in fact for me, I think it saved my settings from the demo because it automatically had it on. But it's
okay,
in your
because
options. Look for it. I can't remember exactly where it is, but it's auto pickup loot.
so the
It's
setting,
it's so stupid. Yeah, because you have to
yeah,
like hold down like a button or something to like
R2,
yeah.
terrible.
I don't even
Okay,
remember. Like I
perfect.
said, because in the demo I immediately turned it off because it was so dumb. I was like, "There's no way this is a thing," because you can
Okay,
misloot them.
so people out there to clarify, the default setting on Stellar Blade, if you haven't played it, is to hold R2 to pick up any loot that dropped. But apparently there is a setting, so
Yeah, I don't
I
know why it's
will
not the
turn that on
default.
tonight before I lose track of anything else.
Yeah, no, it's like an immediate like, why was this not the default?
Yeah,
Like everybody I know that plays the game is just like, yeah, we immediately turned on the auto loot setting. It just makes the game way
unreal.
more enjoyable. Like any game where it's
Absolutely.
like where loot's on the ground, just auto pick it up and whatnot.
Yeah,
'Cause it's
I was
like
getting so irritated
so
because it's
dumb.
just like there's so much stuff I probably left behind because I forgot to click R2.
Yeah, because
Um,
it's in it because they're also like little tiny. Like the loot is tiny.
yeah,
Like I'll say, like in Genshin Impact, you have to press a button to pick up the loot, but it's giant and glows massively. Where it's like you're not missing this loot. Like
right.
you are walking away from that knowing you're not picking it up. Whereas in this one, it can be like little tiny specks on the ground, and you can just simply not notice it and whatnot.
Yeah, and like the
It's
purple and green are easy to see, but sometimes that orange, it blends
yeah,
right in with the ground and
yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna change that. But all right,
Yeah, do
maybe
that.
we'll do a full review of Stellar Blade along with our Boy Kills World
Yeah, I
for
do want to
next
just
time.
talk about some cool stuff that
Mhm.
is in this game. There is a fishing mini game in it. That's it's interesting. I'll say that. I prefer fishing mini games where I don't have to pay like completely attention. And I like, because for me it's like I'll do a bunch of the fishing mini game because it's like, okay, I can be doing something else while I'm doing the fishing mini game. For in this one you have to be like full attention. You're constantly doing something, and it can be quite difficult, frustratingly so sometimes. So it's funny because like, yeah, the fishing can be really hard, but it is cool that it's just like, oh yeah, anywhere there like where there's water and you see fish in them, you can fish there and get like unique fish and stuff, which is cool. And you can like do specific stuff with them. I won't get into more because it's more spoilery. But there is like a wide breadth of content in this game. It isn't just hack and slash stuff. They have a lot of interesting, fun things you can do in it.
Right.
And I'll just tell you this ahead of time. You're gonna find a fishing location in one of the future areas, and they'll like make it very clear that it's a fishing location, but you can't do anything with it for a while. Because I was wasting so much time, like, okay, where's the fishing rod or where's the thing to do this? And it's like, oh no, you can't actually do that yet.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I'm excited to talk more with you about this game because the game really opens up, and I think you're gonna enjoy it even more once it does so.
I'm loving the
Especially
combat.
since you don't have to auto loot, or since you don't have to pick up loot anymore. You're gonna love it even more, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to your there we go.
Alrighty.
X-Men 97.
Now you might know how much we love what Marvel's been doing as of late, right? It's just like, yeah, we just love the Marvels and Secret Invasion and all that great stuff. No, no. The only really good thing that Marvel's put out since, like, I'd say Endgame has been Guardians 3. That's not completely true. I think like WandaVision had some really interesting good ideas to it in some parts of Loki. But it's like, besides those very early things and some like, certain sequences in Shang-Chi and whatnot that were fun, it's like overall Marvel has just been, just dropping the ball on everything. Not understanding their audience, I think, is like the main key thing that we can agree on. They don't understand, like, they're not making movies for the people who watched phases 1 through 3. It seems like they're making these TV shows and movies for someone completely different.
But they have to appeal to wider audiences.
And that's what's cool about X-Men 97. And it's like, hey, you want to watch some good X-Men stories that are very faithful to the comics? Watch X-Men 97. Like, I wasn't going to watch this show at all. One, I've never seen the original. So I was like, okay, I have no tie to the original. But I kept hearing really good thing after really good thing, and especially like about the writing. And I can tell you right now, Dan, if you like good writing, you have to watch this show. This show has some of the best like character writing and dialogue that I've seen in a long time, not even considering like Marvel or anything. It's like they have some like banger one-liners where it's just like, it's just, I don't even want to spoil any of them. But the big thing for me, and I'm not even gonna say what episode it is or anything, but you watched Attack on Titan, right?
Hmm.
You remember episode 5, how it just kind of like completely changes things and whatnot? Where it's like
Oh
I
yeah.
can't I had a moment where Attack on Titan was my first ever anime, and I watched episode 5, and I guess spoilers for Attack on Titan, but episode 5 happens, and Eren dies and gets eaten, who's supposed to be the main character, and I'm like, you can't do that in a TV show. Like, you just don't do that. There is something in this show that had me feeling very similar, where I'm just like, I cannot believe they just did that. That like,
Oh.
there is an episode in the show that is one of the best TV episodes I've ever watched. In like the way it's presented, and, the writing, the characters, and everything, and the way they handle certain stuff in it, and especially with how mature this show can get as well. I'd say like you can tell that this show is made for people who kind of grew up on the original because it's a little bit more mature. Like you look at X-Men, the original X-Men, and Wolverine, he doesn't really cut anybody or stab anybody because you can't really show that to a bunch of 9-year-olds and whatnot. this show, you'll see a little bit more violence. And the best thing about it, Cyclops is actually cool. I didn't grow up
Hmm.
with the show at all, so I grew up with like James Marsden's Cyclops. So I like James Marsden, but his Cyclops is really lame. And then like the Cyclops in the newer movies has been kind of lame too. This one,
Yeah.
Cyclops is like, I can see why this guy is the leader of the X-Men and how he's super cool. Like, I'll just tell you one thing that happens in the first episode. It's like he's not just standing around shooting beams out of his laser thing. He like super shoots it out so that way it propulses him backwards to like dodge a hit or something. And like the fight choreography is so interesting where it's just like it's not a guy just shooting beams out, it's dynamic fighting choreography and cool stuff that they're doing. And the characters are really cool too. I
Awesome.
I don't want to really talk spoilers because I think this is something that you should watch and enjoy. But like if you're a fan of the comics, like in these the old comics, so maybe slight spoilers on some comic lines they touch if you know about them, but like Inferno or if you know anything about Genosha and stuff like that, that's like things they touch on, and it's like, oh, storylines that people actually liked from the comics back in the day and whatnot. And I don't know, everything X-Men right now is looking exciting for me because I'm also looking forward to Deadpool 3. But
Hmm.
I would highly recommend, and here's what I'll say as well. The first episode of the show is by far the worst, and it's not a bad episode. It's just like they have a lot of exposition and stuff where it's like, hey, I'm Cyclops, and here's what I can do. Hey, I'm Storm, and here's what I can do. Where it's like, as somebody who grew up with the X-Men, it's like I already know what all these people can do, and it's a little like exposition heavy. But like episode two, like starting from episode two, like Magneto is such a great character in this show, and it's just like, oh, I
Awesome.
can't recommend it enough. As somebody where like I was not planning on watching this show at all, and I got curious. You know how I get curious sometimes with some Marvel stuff. I watched the first episode of Miss Marvel. Okay, I
Oof.
stopped after the first episode of Miss Marvel. This show, I binged immediately. Like, and I was like, once again, like week to week, a new episode would come out, I'd be there to watch it. Once I got caught up after I think it was episode 5 or 6. So yeah, I would say, Dan, I know Marvel's been really bad lately, but give this one a shot. They it seems like the people who actually made this truly cared about the X-Men and especially seeing true the source material, the original show, and really try to like capture the feel of that again. It's
Okay.
really fun.
I will watch the first two episodes tonight.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, if you don't
great.
like it, you don't like it. But I know I always say everything's not fine, but like there is an episode in the show, and I say maybe if you watch the first episodes, and you're not entirely sold, watch episode 5, and like I said, some of the best television right there. I think they're even like people are saying that like I guess they're like trying to get it like for an Emmy or something. Like that's how well received that episode was too.
Interesting. The only thing I'm not seeing is Gambit, and it's bothering me.
Oh no, Gambit's in it. In fact,
Okay.
Gambit's like my favorite character in it.
Yeah. Growing up, he
Gambit's
and he and Venom were
amazing.
my favorite characters. He,
Oh
Venom,
yeah.
and Black Panther
No,
were
in
my
fact,
favorite
if
characters.
you like Gambit, you are gonna have a good time with this show.
I love Gambit.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
Gambit is amazing in this show. Fantastic. I've
Speaking
never
of,
been like a giant Gambit fan. I've always thought he was cool and liked him, and like I remember I played him a lot in Marvel Ultimate Alliance too. And this one I was
uh-huh.
like, oh yeah, I remember why Gambit was cool and why I liked him. He's super duper cool. Like I think he's in that. Yeah, he's right there. You can kind of
Oh,
see
there
it
we go.
there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Um.
there's Storm with her old school, like side of the head shave look, which
Yeah.
I like the long hair she had in the original cartoon better, but that's still, it's a cool look for her.
No,
So,
Storm is really like, and that's the cool thing is Storm is Storm from the comics from the 90s.
hell yeah. Storm was badass. That's why I don't
Yeah.
understand. This is Marvel. I know you listen. You already had a character, a black female character who was awesome that everybody loved. Why do you have to do the swaps and stuff? You already have this stuff built in.
Yeah.
It's so stupid.
I mean that's the crazy
Ugh.
thing is like you have Storm.
Yeah.
That's why like I have hope for maybe the X-Men stuff. Like I like Deadpool 3 looks fun, and it's like what? So is the only X-Men stuff gonna be good? Because maybe that's why Marvel was doing really bad. Because remember, they didn't have the rights to X-Men, so they just like killed them all off and wasn't doing stuff with them and whatnot. It's like the X-Men are great. This show reminded me. It was like, oh yeah, this is why I liked the X-Men. You know,
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
that's really. Did you watch the original show at all?
Oh yeah, I grew up on it. I grew up
Did,
on that and the Spider-Man show.
so this, I'll say, this picks up a year after the final
Okay.
season of the original show, but it's more so just like just time went by. It's like everything that happened. It's like they like plot wise they pick up right after, but they do it a year later to kind of give the characters some breathing room and whatnot. Um,
Gotcha.
but no, it's so much like it's like, hey, you know these characters you liked from the comics? Well, they're ripped straight out of the comics for you.
And that's
Like
all that people ask for.
slight spoiler of somebody who shows up, but there's a sinister person who might show up that is just like deliciously entertaining and whatnot. It's the best way to say it. It's just like
Nice.
I had a smile every time this character came on screen. And they're not afraid to go deep as well, because I'll say like there's some characters that pop up where it's like, man, those are like I'll say there's a very important person that pops up in this show where I was like, I have no idea who this is. But I went back and
Hmm.
I looked them up. I was like, oh, this is really interesting, and they actually handled this character very well in the show and whatnot, which just
Well,
made me learn more about the comics and whatnot. Go figure. Reminded me of the good comics and the stuff that people enjoyed. Right?
weird.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of Marvel Comics, let's move on to this here. Spider-Man Fake Red. I'm just going to talk briefly about the first chapter. So,
Mhm.
from what I've seen so far, the basic premise is that. So, if you think back to the Spider-Man PS4 game, where he has like bags of stuff laid around the city, a kid, a teenager, finds one of his costumes. Now, do we know if it's his only costume that he was planning on using, or does he have them placed all around the city? We don't really know, but it is a manga, so right to left. But a kid puts on his costume, the Spider-Man costume he finds, and realizes that, oh crap, I gotta actually find Spider-Man. I don't know how I'm gonna do that because I'm wearing his costume, but if this is his only costume, he's walking around naked. That's what he thinks. A bunch of people see him, and he has to. So he's Spider-Man, obviously, to everyone because he's wearing the suit and he's about the same size. They do make a comment that Spider-Man's lost some muscle mass, but whatever. There's a fire, a burning building a couple blocks up that everyone's like, Spider-Man, go, 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 And the kid's like, well, I guess I'll just go. So he's got no powers. He does have the web shooters. It's not the version of Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire where it came out of his arm. He's actually got the shooters. So he's
Mhm.
trying to save a child from a burning building with no powers whatsoever. And he actually, spoilers for the first 50 pages, which is the first chapter, succeeds. So it's very fun so far. I've only read a couple chapters, but I wanted to recommend it because it reminded me. I mean, we haven't even seen the real Spider-Man yet, but it reminded me of, you know, the good old days.
That's cool.
Because while it's not anyone with powers, it's a kid who they show him in the beginning, he's doing rock climbing stuff. So he does have like some athleticism. And it just reminded me of when Spider-Man first got his powers because he was so uncoordinated and couldn't figure anything out. But it's pretty fun so far. Have you checked this out at all?
I never heard of it until just now. I think
It's
is it
on the
only on Viz?
Viz Media app, and there's as you can see on screen here, there is a physical version available, which I will be purchasing. So
Is it just
yeah,
like that
pretty cool.
one, like a short story, or is there going to be like an ongoing film?
It looks like it's ongoing based on how many chapters there are. So I've only read two so far, and there are 14 currently. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, Spider-Man Fake Red. Check it out. All right. I made the purchase. I bought the PlayStation Portal. Why? I don't know. Boredom. I don't know. I guess. but I just wanted to talk a little bit about it because I have some likes, dislikes, and some concerns because it's one total unit, $200. They finally had it in stock, so I figured, what the hell? But it's a solid unit. The two pieces are welded to the screen as one piece. So I've gone through so many controllers over the last few years that I don't know what I'll do. I guess you're just supposed to buy a new one, or unless there's some sort of repairs that you could do. But if anything happens to any of the buttons or the sticks, you're just you're kind
You
of
can
screwed.
you can send it in because a coworker of ours has this, and he had an issue start happening with his, and he was able to send it in to get it fixed.
Gotcha. So in my apartment, my relatively small apartment, it works perfectly because the everything is within a certain distance and I have a good internet and everything. So there's no issues in terms of lag. Everything works almost perfectly. So I could be sitting on the couch, my PlayStation's in my office area, and everything just works. But what I tried was I took it. So the studio we record out of is at my parents' house, and I took the PlayStation over, not the PlayStation Portal over there, and left the PlayStation at my place on rest mode, and it was going from my internet to theirs is quite laggy. So if you don't have a strong internet connection, this is not for you. And I think they make that pretty clear when they advertised it, but I just want to reinforce that because even if you have good internet and you're like if there's anything blocking any sort of obstructions whatsoever, it's going to be a problem, which makes it totally not worth it. So, any thoughts on PlayStation Portal? I know you don't have one, but
Yeah, I definitely don't have the internet connection for it, but I mean, it seems really cool. I know we were making fun of it when it first came out,
yeah, yeah.
but I don't know. I mainly play games like on my couch and whatnot. So like the PlayStation is my, and I don't know. I kind of like this way. The PlayStation is my like big TV screen thing, and then if I ever go portable, it's my Switch. It gives me an excuse to play my Switch and whatnot.
Mhm.
So I kind of like having the difference, but I think it's it's really cool and interesting. I remember when I had my PlayStation Vita, being able to play PlayStation 5 games on that. Like I remember playing Destiny on that. And it was super weird because it only has two shoulder buttons, so you had to use the touchpad on
Oh,
the back of the Vita for the like R2 L2. But it worked, and I was like, "This is super cool. I'm playing Destiny on my Vita."
yeah.
But I think it's really novel as long as you have like the disposable income to. I guess that's not the right word. You have the money you're willing to spend on it and whatnot. I just know
Yeah.
that's not a purchase I could make. One, because there's other things that I need to be spending my money on, and two, do not
Yep.
have a good internet connection. So,
Yeah. And that's definitely the biggest hang up, other than the $200 price tag. But
mhm.
as soon as it became available, there's no way I was paying a penny more than that. All these scalpers, they've had a lock on it for how long's the dang thing been out? 8 months.
Yeah, I'll say not a year yet.
So, all right. Yeah. So it's a pretty good experience, but let's move on to something that you had here.
Yes, I like to watch random videos on YouTube, and I came across this video. I like to watch like video essays, and this was yeah, it's an older video, 4 years ago. John Favreau's Iron Man: The Insane Origin, and it's basically taking a look back at the movie, like the movie that started the MCU, and not just like the movie as itself, but like the making of the movie. And I think that's why he calls it like John Favreau's Iron Man, because it's just like how crazy it was that this movie got made, how crazy it is, how good it was, and then just kind of like everything that came from it and how kind of like changed everything. And I guess kind of also like a look back at like because like this video came out in 2020, kind of like right when the MCU's Thanos storyline came down, right after Endgame. And it's like, this is kind of like a nice look back at like this is where we started, and watching it nowadays where it's just like, man, I wish we could go back to this kind of thing. Because I even watched like this other video he did, which you can kind of see off to the side there, where he talks about Iron Man 2 and kind of like how even with Iron Man 2, the studio interference kind of ruined that movie. And not ruined it, but like it hurt it a little bit. And it's like, man, just wait if you had known about how much studio interference would just ruin the entire MCU. But yeah, it was super
Yep.
cool. Just kind of like I haven't seen the movie in a while, but going back and seeing all this behind the scenes information and just like how hard it was to get the movie made in general, I thought this was a very uh cool kind of like look back at that and whatnot. And this YouTuber has a lot of like interesting movie or videos talking about doing some really in-depth looks behind the scenes type stuff for other movies as well. I like the
Awesome.
Spider-Man movies. He did some Spider-Man Sam Raimi videos, which is what I think got me to view this. But I was like, this one just really hit me because it's like, yeah, man, like this first Iron Man movie was, it's funny because it's a line in the movie, but they say it's also how the movie got made. But it's like it was made with a box of scraps, in the desert with a
Oh
box of
yeah.
scraps, and it's like that's kind of how this movie was made. I think they were having to write stuff like on the spot and whatnot for some of it, and Marvel was like, yeah, this isn't really going to become a thing or anything, and it's even down
Little
to
did
like the
we know.
perfect casting, yeah. But yeah, no, I thought this was a cool video that I was like, yeah, if people are interested, I really liked this video. Definitely check it out. And then
Absolutely.
another thing that I watched, well, I watched maybe 30 clips of the Tom Brady roast on like YouTube and like Facebook Reels and whatnot. I've never watched a roast in my life before, but I was like, you know what? Every single clip I've been seeing has been very funny. It had Tony from Kill Tony on it, and I think that guy's hilarious with a lot of stuff he does. But I mean, I've seen so many clips where it was just, I was like, man, I feel like I haven't seen jokes like this made in a long time. So I was like, you know what? Let me start off the thing, and I'll get to the part where Tony comes on at least, and then I might stop there. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's like I'll watch a few parts, and I got to an hour into it, and then I got 2 hours into it, and the next thing I knew, I'd watched the whole thing, and it's 3 in the morning, and it was hilarious. And I think the big thing as well is like this was Netflix's first roast, and a lot of the roasts that you really see on like Comedy Central, um you have sponsors and things, and they have to be very careful of what the jokes they say because you don't want to upset the sponsors. Netflix was like, yeah, this is our roast, you guys can say whatever you want. I think like Tom Brady laid down some ground rules where he's like, don't talk about my kids because just leave them out of it, and like I think something else. But it's like, they go hard, they say some stuff, and I think you saw the I can't remember his last name, but Tony
Tony
was
Hinchcliffe.
Hinchcliffe, his stuff. It's like, man, he says some stuff where it's just like, I can't believe they got away with saying some of this stuff in this day and age. But it's great because you can tell it's just jokes and fun and whatnot. And that's what they had, and especially as somebody who's not a big fan of Tom Brady, it doesn't hurt as well to see a bunch of people like just tear into him and whatnot. Um,
Yeah, it's incredible. And Bill Belichick was there. Julian Edelman made
yeah,
some cracks at him, which
dude,
were pretty funny.
he was so funny. And Kevin Hart's been very hit and miss with me, but I think Kevin Hart did an amazing job. And like some of the jokes that he said, I was like, man, this guy who works with The Rock, who's one of the most sensitive people in Hollywood, I can't believe Kevin Hart's cracking some of these jokes that he is and whatnot.
Well, this is
Um,
how comedy was before everyone went insane. So,
yeah,
this
I'm
is the
hope.
kind of thing that I love more than anything. And I'm going to show you two guys here. So,
Mhm.
Greg Giraldo, rest in peace, died. Oh my God, he died in 2010. He is one of the most brutal roasters that ever had the pleasure of watching. And unfortunately, he was into a little bit of the nose candy, and that's what took him in the end. But if you ever watch any of the roasts, Flavor Flav in particular was one of the funniest things I've ever seen when Greg Giraldo roasts Flavor Flav, and there was quite a few. He's one of the funniest men that I've ever seen in this setting. The other one, I was introduced to this person who's currently my favorite comedian. I was introduced to Anthony Jeselnik through the roast of Charlie Sheen, and he's just incredibly funny. So check out some of the old Comedy Central roasts. I cannot vouch for some of the more recent ones, but Charlie Sheen, Bob Saget, and Flava Flav particularly are some of the funniest bits of comedy that you'll ever see. And then, of course, you mentioned Kill Tony, which is
Yeah,
it's a comedy show that,
we've talked about him a couple times before.
yeah, in the jokes that you were referencing that you haven't heard jokes like that in a while, Kill Tony does not censor anybody.
Mhm.
It's unedited comedy and it's fantastic. There was a girl on a more recent episode that she actually just did a totally racist, like actual racist comedy setup set, I mean,
Mhm.
but it's all in good fun. The half of the band are black and they were laughing at it because it's just meant to be so fun.
That's what I said.
And
It's not racist because like I always
no,
say like when it comes to comedy, it's like intent is what makes something like, offensive or racist. And it's just like you're just cracking jokes about people and whatnot. And it's like at the end of the day, it's just like
yeah,
you respect the people and whatnot. It's just like you're just trying to be funny. And so
yeah,
many people are like,
whip,
well, try to be funny a different way or something. It's like, or you could just try to be funny.
yeah. And if you don't like the show, change the channel. I've always been a big proponent of that. If you can't handle the jokes, don't watch it. And punching somebody in the face because they're black is racist. Joking about black people can't swim is not. It's fun. Everyone does it both ways. It's fine. So,
It all depends on like how you're saying it. Because like if you're saying it in like a very like nasty way or something, then it's like okay, it's not a joke anymore at that point. But when it's just like you're
right.
just trying to like be a comedian and like be funny and whatnot, it's you can't be like walking on eggshells. It's just be funny. And like I said, that's why
Yeah.
you watch that just watch a clip of Tony roasting because he doesn't just roast Tom Brady, he roasts like the entire panel that's up there and whatnot. And it is brutal. It's brutal, man.
Yeah.
Especially
What
like
did
he
he
ends
say
it with the
about
Kim
Bert
Kardashian
Kreischer?
one. Oh my gosh, the Burt Kreischer one's great because I especially think like Burt Kreischer is like a mess and whatnot. And it's
Yeah.
just funny the way he just
You
he
look like
just
the
took him.
Tiger King and the Liver King had a baby at Burger King or something like that. It was so
Like
funny.
you look like a mix of the tiger. He's like you look like a mix of the Tiger King and the Liver King who went to Burger King, whose liver looks like Martin Luther King got beat up by Rodney King. Stuff like that. Like we're saying it in a way that's not like we're butchering it a little bit, but like because that's the other part of it too. It's just like it's not just what he says; it's the delivery.
Yeah.
Like he just like spits it out there, and the way he's saying it, it's super funny and whatnot. It's yeah, but I say like so many people I say even Tom Brady has a great couple of roasts that he does. Like he has a great one about Kim Kardashian and whatnot, where it's just like they yeah, I like I said, it was just 4 hours of pure fun and entertainment where like I was not planning on watching the whole 4 hour thing, at least then. It was just gonna be like a half an hour. And I just could not stop watching because of how much fun it was. And it's just like, man, I miss this kind of comedy like mainstream wise, and
Absolutely.
it's especially crazy because Netflix, Netflix
Yeah.
who has a lot of like I like some stuff that Netflix does, but they do a lot of terrible choices. Like we talked about like the anime stuff. The fact that they were just like, hey, here's a roast. You don't have to worry about sponsors. Just say whatever the heck you want, and they did to the point where I think Tom Brady after the fact said, "Yeah, this is a terrible idea. I don't know why I agreed to this."
Yeah. I
Like
really
in
wish
a
they
fun
would have
way.
just, done this all along because I would still have a Netflix subscription. It's
Well, they
just
said they're going
let
to be doing more of
comedians be
these.
comedians. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll love it. Like
yeah.
just let them do their thing. It's funny. It's fun.
Was very successful. I think that was the big thing.
Nobody
Is
was
like,
ever hurt by a comedian. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
just by a joke.
yeah.
So I
Because I think
just
that's the other thing that Tony says when he's making fun of I think Sam J or something, where it's just like, yeah, you're like a fat black and a lesbian. Man, Netflix just got to check all the boxes with you, didn't they, today or something? And do what Sam J did? You laughed at that. It was
yep.
funny. Or it's just like, it's making fun of a lot of different stuff. It's, I was watching this really good video breaking, like, it was like a retrospective on Tropic Thunder and like people who got like offended at that. And it's just like, you're missing the point if you're getting offended at like Robert Downey Jr.'s character in that one. Because it's like, the whole point of the character is that people like people take method acting too much, and they take it to the complete extreme where he like gets like his skin darkened and basically is doing blackface. It's not like they're saying, "Hey, blackface is good" and whatnot. It's like, no, it's the complete opposite. You're missing the point. That's the joke. You're missing the whole point of the joke. They're making fun of
Yeah.
this stupid stuff and whatnot, and that's just what people don't get. They just see, oh, this is offensive, and it's like, yes,
To who?
that's the
People like to get
point.
offended for
No,
other people.
it's
Like,
like,
just
yes,
shut up.
that's the point, and that's why it's funny.
Yep. And here's the other thing with these roasts. So let's say it was me and you doing the roast, and I just spent 10 minutes up there shitting on you. Well, you get a turn soon and you get to return the favor.
Yeah.
So it's all in fun. So
Oh.
whatever. People need to frickin' get out of their own asses.
Yeah, I know,
Have
because
some fun.
even like Bill Belichick's there, and at first I'd be like,
Yeah.
oh, this guy's like super famous and such, like I feel like people either respect him or fear him so much that they wouldn't do it. But no, there's some people who are just going all in on him, like Edelman. That's just like his tearing, like he
Yeah.
just went in on Bill Belichick. I don't know if you saw
Yeah,
his whole
he
skit.
said that like a high school was the only one that offered him a job after he
Yeah,
left
or
the
so.
Patriots. And yeah.
He's like, yeah, you were scoping out the area or something. It's like
And guess what
they
Bill Belichick did? He
oh,
laughed
he
about
tore.
it.
I know he left about it, but it's just like, what did he do? Like a few sets before that, tore into them and made fun of them and whatnot a ton.
Yeah.
Like even like Gronk, like people just were making fun of Gronk so much, but he went up there and he was having a ton of stupid fun too and whatnot.
Yep.
It's like that's what matters is they're all having fun with each other, and that's why. But yeah, that's why I was like,
What a
I wanted to show
concept.
you this reels because I know like, oh, Netflix, and I don't know how you feel about Tom Brady, but it's like, no, this it was nice to actually watch something like this where it's like I was laughing so much at a lot of the jokes that were being told, and it was just like, yeah, imagine being funny and just letting people be funny.
Yep.
But I think maybe we could talk more about it or something once you decide to watch it.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm watching the X-Men one this week,
yeah,
so
yeah,
I think our next one we're gonna do a couple like full reviews with Boy Kills World and Stellar Blade. So,
yeah.
but yeah, I
All
think
right.
that'll do it for us. That's everything. So it's 1 a.m. So I think we'll wrap it up.
Yes, I have a wedding
All right.
tomorrow in 12 hours.
Oh wow,
So
nice. All right.
yeah.
So on that note, go check out all the stuff we recommended. Please avoid babes at all cost. And
No, no,
we'll catch
the
you guys later.
movie, not Babes like Stellar Blade. Well, that
True.
that's what
True.
Stellar Babes, huh?
Stellar. Avoid this at all costs, please. Do yourselves a favor. All right. And on that note, we'll catch you guys later.
Peace.